Llamas on a hillside in southern Saskatchewan. This Sunday morning in summer, looking north over the stagnant ice moraine that makes up this area. All knob and kettle and pothole sloughs. An extension of the dirt hills. This is an internal drainage area, and through here the water only leaves by evaporation. Looking east along Township Road 74. Settlers began coming into this area in 1906. United States, Eastern Canada. Some from Europe, ranching and farming. To the south, beyond the graveyard, beyond the railway tracks and town, is pretty good pasturage country, rough, but good grass. To the north is the farming area. We're just on the first rises of the Missouri Coteau. Looking west. It's July the 8th, 2012. We're in Ogema, Saskatchewan. Looking eastward along the rail line that the CPR laid through here in 1911. That's an ex-Saskatchewan wheat pool elevator there, now owned by Ogema Elevator Company. It's a 1957 structure. The Saskatchewan wheat pool has had a presence here since 1924, earliest days. Here we are looking into the main street, all decorated up for the centennial that was yesterday, that Ogema was 100 years old on July the 7th, 2012. Here's Ogema's train station. A standard number 5, standing at mile 51.7 from Weyburn on the CPR's former Assiniboia sub. This isn't the original station that stood here. That was removed in 1971. Looking for a project for the 2005 homecoming, the museum scoured the province till they found an exact replica up by Simpson Way north of Regina, being used as a granary. They bought it and brought it down in the summer of 2002, and by 2005 July it had a museum installed in it, and it was open for the public for homecoming. There's Ogema's famous covered grandstand in front of the old Ball Diamond down on the sports grounds, the fairgrounds, just across the tracks from the train station. Built in the 20s, the grandstand. And the Deep South Pioneer Museum is one of the reasons why Ogema was nominated for the International Awards for Livable Communities in 2008 and won silver that year. And the cenotaph down on Main Street, the station in the background where it's always been. The center point of so many prairie towns, first monument, and often the only monument in town. Sounds like traffic howling down Highway 13 south of the fairgrounds. And a look into Main Street, there's the old fire hall dating from 1915. In January of 1915, a huge blaze burned the eastern side of Main Street there off to the right and resulted in the construction of that fire hall, supervised by Robert John Leckie, who built the Parliament, the legislative buildings. As well, Leckie built this firewall, 70 feet long by 28 feet high, 8 feet of which is buried in the ground there. There's a similar wall in the fire hall, directly opposite. Senior Center, Co-op, a local watering hole. Across the street from there, I suspect, stood the Little Amigo Inn until April 20th, 1958, when it burned. There's a station at the head of Main Street where it always was. And a peek into the old fire hall and some of the antique equipment. And the Amigo Inn would have been down in the corner there. We'll look at the east side of Maine. Maine is set out perpendicular, well, the whole town is set out perpendicular to the rail line, which runs east, northeast to west, southwest in this area. Town of Ogema. Village was incorporated July 18th, 1911. The town was incorporated January 7th, 1913. There's the old British American service station. Only one in the province like that. About the time that was built, just after World War II, Ogema's population peaked at 450. 2011 it stands at 368. That's up since 2005. Credit union. And some of the facades along the western side of Main Street. There's the firewall again. And the post office. First one opened November the 1st, 1910. People wanted to call it Omega, the last letter of the Greek alphabet, because this was the end of the rail line, but there was another Omega somewhere, so they named it Ogema. Possibly Salto or Crieff or Chief, but there's also an Ogema in Wisconsin. I imagine this view down Main Street looks much the same as it did in the 1950s. Besides housing the museum, the station is also home to the Ogema Heritage Railway Association, which acquired a little GE shunt locomotive and an old Pullman coach. And since their inaugural run on June the 2nd, 2012, they've been running excursions, mostly westward, 15 miles out to Horizon. This stretch of rail line between Pangman and Assiniboia, about 75 miles, has been since 1999 in the possession of Redcoat Road and Rail, first short line railroad organized in Saskatchewan, a locally owned consortium. Ooh, a parade. And there's a building on the west side of town, don't know what it is. And wherever you go in Saskatchewan, you're in rider country. Ogema was named a model community by the provincial government's Action Committee on the Rural Economy for the tremendous effort that its area residents have put into revitalization, diversifying the area's economy. There's a 9-hole sand green golf course. They have the rodeo, Sports Hall of Fame, and of course the Deep South Pioneer Museum. Support a hockey team, K-12 and a new school here. Yeah, here we are on the grounds of the Deep South Pioneer Museum. Collection of old buildings, as you can see, and there's a parade going on somewhere. Right here. It's quite an extensive collection of old buildings on the site. Old equipment. Every second Saturday in July, the Agricultural Society puts on Fair Day, and this is the Sunday after. And they combined the centennial celebrations with Fair Day this year. And the soughing of the wind in the poplar trees. How Saskatchewan. Ogema, Saskatchewan.